Precious channel, it is I, your friend Jeffrey Horkims. Of course, you already know what it is. It's Acquisitions Intoxicated. Twitch's brewing show. Indeed, a show where we remind you with our efforts that brewing is your inheritance and you deserve to enjoy its full fruits. I am joined because Eric J. Benson, also known as Azerbaijan, the notorious EJB or Edge, he's down at Gen Con. So if you are down at Gen Con as well, you should absolutely seek him out because his thirst is great and he will no doubt be an excellent companion. In the meantime, I have secured a far superior associate, far more knowledgeable.
Sometimes, I'm not sure about that.
We're going to do our best. We're gonna do our best. This is our friend Anthony from Micro Homebrew, which is, so when we come in there and stuff our faces in paper bags full of grains, those paper bags full of grains, generally speaking, came from him.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, I feel. Now, so we have a classic arc, generally speaking, that we're going to go through. We were bummed that our friends from Two Beers did not have a chance. Thanks, Diggs. Did not have a chance to roll through. It sounds like something went bad with the hops. So hop freshness is a two-edged sword.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's the one can use fresh hops, but when they're not pasteurized and pelletized, they're subject to all the rest of the tiny creatures. Thanks, Bingley. That fuck everything else up on this planet. So while we get started, Anthony, so you came over and hung out with us before.
Right.
Indeed, you stood right back here. You had like an induction plate.
Right.
And you were showing the gathered throng how to put together beers via an extract kit.
Right.
Now, would you be so kind as to decant some of the stuff that you would find in a homebrewer's kit?
Of course.
So that, let's say they roll through to Micro Homebrew or an online spot and they get a kit, like what can they expect to find inside the box? Hopefully not like a very small person who leaps out. Like that would be terrifying.
Not in ours, at least.
No, okay, well listen. This is how we differentiate our brewing box. No tiny people leap out. Okay, so what's in this present?
So our kit, the one we sell at our store, is the Brewcraft branded kit, and it's what we sell to people who want to brew in their home on their stove. So it's a very beginner kit.
Early on.
Yeah, so we have a lot of stuff, some siphon tubing to be able to transfer your beer from primary to secondary into your bottles.
So remove it from the trub and then let it rest.
Correct. Bottle capper. Very
it comes with the...
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm surprised that they include that.
Oh, yeah. This comes with everything. This is a very, reasonably priced kit. It comes with everything you need. Airlocks and stoppers for airlock bubblers.
Oh, yeah, indeed. Sometimes called the bung.
The bung, yes. Some cleaner, cleaner and sanitizer. Star San.
Okay,
everyone uses that.
A little bottle of Star San, maybe some One Step or something in there.
That's got some alkaline brewery wash. Same thing, same idea.
Yeah, big stuff.
And
a little tap.
A little spigot for your bucket. Mm-hmm. That helps the transfer as well. We got a test jar for your hydrometer.
Mm-hmm. And you use the hydrometer is basically what you use to test samples and determine their gravity, right?
Yeah, so it measures the sugar that's in solution. It can give you your alcohol content when you measure it twice and stuff like that.
And so that can be how you know it's done in some ways, right?
Right, and that also lets you know your exact alcohol content.
Exactly.
Auto siphon, so instead of having to start the siphon with your mouth, like you're siphoning gas or something like that, you give it a couple of quick pumps and...
Now, is an auto siphon also called a thief?
No, so a thief would be what you would use. This one doesn't actually come with one. You can use it as a thief. It's a little more work than a thief. A thief, you'll put your thumb over it and put it down and pull up, and it'll take a sample.
Oh, so it's almost like a straw.
Exactly.
You put your thumb on a straw. Okay.
Yeah, and we have a couple of different versions. This company does make a thief where it's got kind of an auto locking system and stuff like that. So there's some really cool things. We got a plastic carboy.
Which a lot of people
use for their secondary fermentation. a carboy brush for cleaning the carboy.
Damn.
This really comes with
I was
everything.
just gonna say, like, again, like a lot of the stuff that I would expect. So when you have the box,
Right.
like I would consider a lot of this stuff a little inside baseball, even as a kid.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, when I started, there was definitely pieces of this that I did not have.
Definitely.
You know,
right? I know I have bought all this stuff separate.
Exactly. Yeah. Hydrometer, which you need.
Yeah. How else are you gonna measure the hydro?
Exactly.
Thanks, Draken.
A little thermometer for your kettle. Not so much for fermentation, but so you can see what you're steeping your grains at during the process. Bottle brush. Again, it really comes with everything.
Wild.
And then
is there a pot in there too?
Yeah, there's actually the pot that I used on the brew day.
When you were here.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's maybe what?
This is a 5-gallon kettle. So you'll see here, it's meant to boil about 3 gallons. You'll go into your fermenter with 2.5.
Yeah.
Top off with the extra water that you put in the fridge the night before or whatever. So
exactly.
It's got exactly the size you need to be able to do it on your stove.
Exactly. And so this would be, we would leverage a kit like this, doing primarily extract brewing.
Yes.
So that you would add some probably fresh cracked grains for flavor
and color
at some point, but generally speaking, this is going to be for using syrups.
Yeah, syrups or the dry extract. I think when I came here, we used both.
We did a little bit of both, just so people could see, right?
Yeah, and you could do all grain with this. You have to probably do a 1-gallon batch with it.
Oh yeah, I was going to say
you wouldn't be able to do
just the volume.
Right, because all grain you need to do a full-size boil. Otherwise, you're not going to get all your sugars out of your grains, stuff like that.
Efficiency.
Exactly. It comes with another little thermometer, just a little instant read thermometer kind of one. You can let it float in there as well, a floating thermometer.
Handy.
This is the bottling wand I was talking about. They do have a style of this that you can use as a thief. One that's a little bit bigger if you don't want to take as much of a sample as the test jar.
Right. Because I mean, out of a 2.5-gallon batch, a couple samples that size.
Yeah. I mean, or even a 5-gallon batch.
Thanks, Atria. Oh, whoa. So Atria Ventrica said that someone, Anthony personally helped me put together the Earl Grey Saison I'm brewing for Pax Drawn Courtier. Much appreciated.
Oh yeah, I remember Dude, that one. Yeah.
That kicks ass. Thanks, Ponskus.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it also has a thermometer that this is like a stick-on, so you put it here to measure the
This is stupid.
temperature of fermentation. Again, everything. And then the final thing in here, actually 2 more things.
Oh, then you got your bucket.
Primary bucket, primary fermentation, as well as where you would put your spigot for bottling.
Right over there?
Yep.
Exactly right.
Final thing, spoon. So for stirring in the kettle and stirring in your extract, make sure it's all dissolved.
They're giving it all away.
They really are.
No, so if you go to a homebrew shop and get a kit, is it like when I started coffee roasting? A lot of times when you get the kit, sometimes they throw in a simple recipe. And I know that was certainly true for the Pico as well. The recipe came with it. Is it common to have a small recipe, or does that usually get thrown on top?
That usually you have to purchase that separately, just because some places, maybe online retailers, will do that.
Some incentivization there.
Right. You know, we don't, just because this is such a recently priced kit as is, and we design our own kits at the store.
Oh, I see.
So we actually started buying the boxes, putting the ingredients all together themselves. So we've handwritten the recipes, brewed them, and tasted them, so we know that they are good beers.
Solid.
Yeah, and they've been turning out really great. And so we have those at the store. Have another brand as well, but either way, you know, you're looking between $40 and $100, depending on what kind of beer you want to make.
Describe for me $100 5-gallon batch.
New England IPA.
Fuck? Oh, see, because
of all the
tons
hops.
of hops.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's like the most fragile, most expensive part of that.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, that one has 3/4 pound of hops that go into it.
Oh, geez.
Mostly in dry hopping.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's all after the fact, mostly, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we have a recipe for English dark mild, $40.
Yeah.
So
your regular, like your traditional styles are gonna rest right there in the middle usually.
Just because they're not incredibly hoppy and generally lower alcohol as well.
No, it's true. Ghostly Clockwork, love the show. No, Ghostly Clockwork, aren't you behind the decks? So you're subbing from the studio? Is that correct? Well, in any case, I can tell you directly what I would tell anybody else who happened to be here. Thank you so much. It was kind of a weird idea to start doing streaming, but I'm really glad that I did it, and I'm glad that it is enjoyed more or less by others. So let's try to clear off some of this stuff so we can get Jeff in here, because Jeff went to a novelty beverage shop here in town, and he was able to secure 2 beverage options. Thank you, Viking Go. Yeah, Viking Go says that the sub is coming from inside the house. Now, you might have gazed upon this Klingon beverage down in the corner earlier. Thanks, Six. Now, of course, no, Six, you could definitely make like
very loud on the screen. Holy mackerel!
Yeah. So, War Priest, which is the CDA, it was like the very first beer that we made on the show. People definitely want to. They want to know if they could make War Priest on that. Yeah.
Right.
And you would.
Totally.
You would basically just, functionally speaking, what you need is you need an extract version of that brew.
Correct.
And I wasn't 100% familiar with this process, but I know that you and Eric actually hang out quite a bit.
We do, yeah.
And it sounds like you're helping him build extract versions
That's
of some of our classic recipes.
Yeah, and I can get the recipe from Eric, and if you come into the store and want to do a certain recipe, I can convert it if we haven't already.
Yeah.
We all have experience at the store converting all grain recipes into extract. So, and you're also scaling up because the Pico is only 2.5 gallons.
Exactly.
So we'd scale it up to a full 5 for you. Right?
Man, dude, that is freaking kick ass. That's really nice. I mean, the fantasy long term is that we could release a book that included the story behind the beer, the art, and then 5-gallon and extract recipes, so that any of the stuff that we've made together on the show you could put together. Now, Jeff, where did you secure both the Star Trek Klingon Imperial Porter and the Symbiosis 30th Anniversary Ale? I mean, I thought for sure there'd be like some kind of blood ale.
Like maybe I did not check the blood ale section.
It's IPA. Pale. Blood.
Well, so I had actually saw these in a store and tweeted them out a few months ago, jokingly saying we should do a Bridge Commander stream again and make it a drinking game.
I would love it.
Especially with the new content that they just did.
The TNG.
The TNG. So this time, it was actually at Cost Plus. Which my wife loves to shop at, and then I go and hide in the alcohol section because we got lots of really good wines at a good price. And I saw them on the shelf, and I said, you know what? I don't know when you'll use them. I don't know if we'll use them, but let me buy these, and I'll bring them to the office. And then if we ever need to pinch hit some beers on the show.
Yeah, you done did it.
This is all a manipulation to get me more screen time on this show. I'm going to be honest.
Listen, I'm not gonna stop you. First of all, some of our stuff actually fell through today, so I was overjoyed to hear that we had another option. And obviously, the Jeff guest spot is an expectation.
Normally I just show up and drink the beer and then leave. But this time, I was like, I just happened to. And the thing is I had bought beers for the show before, but I always forget to bring them in, and then a lot of them have been fresh poured, so they haven't been bottled.
Oh, sure.
So eventually, I forget long enough, I just have to drink them at home.
Exactly.
It's got a strong caramel aroma on the nose.
Yeah, see, I was just going to say, no, we have a pro. Now, I approach brewing and tasting as a drunkard. You know what I mean? But we actually have 2 people here who actually have developed a system of assessment that might actually be able to deliver something of value to you. I will tell you if I get drunk or not, and that's important too. What I'm saying is that my contributions are identical.
See, the problem is I'm afraid to say anything now because the professional. Beer is your job.
Yeah,
beer is my.
There could be worse jobs.
My luxury.
There could definitely be worse jobs.
So I don't want to make any tasting notes until you say something and then I nod and just agree. That's how it normally works.
So if you would please give us
Sure.
Like an Antarctic core sample.
Yeah.
And the brewer's not here, so and they're probably not on the stream. You can say negative things.
And so we will just adhere in absolute terms to your concept for the 30th anniversary ale. Are you tasting any Star Trek?
Yes. I'm in another galaxy right now.
I think there's a triple hair.
I've been sent.
Never mind.
I've been sent beyond.
No, this is it's good. It could use some more hop flavor in my opinion. It's very nice, dry, crisp finish.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, dry and crisp. It has like the amber body.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, and it's got some of that caramel sweetness on the nose. It's got some nice tropical, floral hop flavor in there.
See, I was just gonna say now. I mean, because there's like, I think there's a Game of Thrones range as well.
Yeah.
Of beers.
I've had those ones. Those are good.
Really? They're solid?
good.
They're from Almagon. Is it
shit.
New York brewery?
Oh no, Amagang is the real deal.
Yeah, those Game of Thrones beers are generally all really good.
I'm gonna plan a spin-off where I just drink pop culture licensed brews.
What, you're gonna get the Handmaid's Tale wines?
Yeah. There's the 50 Shades of Grey wine.
You're just gonna
All these
travel.
pop culture alcohols that I'm just gonna consume.
But honestly, no, I would say that this is a barbecue.
I drink this the days we've had the last couple days out on
Jeff,
the
I didn't
patio.
know how this was gonna go. Like, it's like, generally speaking, if they're gonna pay for the license,
They should make it a little worthy of the license.
yeah,
right?
what you would hope, but it's like this could have been way more cynical than it is. It's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
It's like the standard video game movie. It's just like it does not honor the source material well.
No.
You said you'd like more hop. For me, this is right on that border.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're a weirdo, I don't mean when I say weirdo, I mean
You have a different way of approaching guests than I normally
No,
think.
I'm just. I mean, everybody over here in this zone is like we drink a lot of beers, and we have an approach to hops, and it's like iocane powder. It's like we've
built up the immunity.
We have built up some hop immunity, and so we want people to address the bottle with something that's bonks, right?
For me, I've decided my hops limit is like a Manny's.
Okay.
That is my
that's a great
hop
beer.
limit.
But you're in a good spot there.
Anything
honestly.
above that is too bitter for me, and I love ones where the bitter rating is in the 20s. Like those seem to be my sweet spot.
Well, yeah, and I honestly, I think that's a substantial portion of beer drinkers.
Yeah. And when I say more hops, I'm not talking about more IBUs.
Okay.
I'm talking about
So the problem is, and this is good because this will be education for me. For me, maybe it's because I live in the Pacific Northwest where everyone's making these IPAs that are super crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, to me, the hops in IPA were directly correlating. Or not IPA, the hops in IPU.
They are and they aren't. Okay. So when I say hoppy, I don't necessarily mean bitter. I don't mean bitter. Hoppy generally mean a beer can be really hoppy but not bitter, like New England IPAs. It's a soft bitter. It's hoppiness is flavor.
Now, Anthony, I can help him with this. Okay, so we were talking with New Belgium. God, you would have loved that episode, dude. I guess things were too busy at the store. He couldn't check out.
Right.
So get a load of this. We talked with them for a while because they're like built into this industry, and the people
makes sense.
But the people that we had were on the sales side, so they're experts, but they also have like real deep knowledge of the competitive, like the meta game, and so people wanted to know because they can ask questions on Inky. They were like, so are IPAs like on their way out? And it's like, and we actually had a really interesting conversation about it. And they're not on their way out. Like they constitute a massive portion of the market, but they are definitely changing. Okay. And one of the ways they're changing is with this New England style that Eric and I talk about all the time. So these are, you might have seen them. So if next time you're out with the fam, if you see something that refers to itself as hazy, Get a glass. And
You
so,
might like it.
functionally speaking, what that means is, so it's not going to be clear. And this is some of this is a production aspect. So some of the aspects of it are visual, right? It basically looks like a smoothie, right?
Okay.
And when you put it down, the hops they're focusing on, they're not the hops that we focus on out here as much. So can you break down?
It's a different
Oh my
type of
gosh!
hop.
No,
Yeah,
these
yeah.
and the profile is bonkers. So go into what you mean.
So have you had like Reuben's Crikey or anything from locally? Any of the local IPAs?
I'll make sure.
I've
Okay, yeah.
stopped drinking a lot of the
Okay,
local
so-
IPAs because
Yeah.
A majority of the Northwest style IPAs are using the piney, floral hops
Yeah,
as
it's that resinous, it's
resiny,
like
earthy.
bitter,
and that's
bite.
why it's so bitter.
Well, no, so that's gonna be the flavor you get from the hops. They'll use a lot of hops for bittering, generally 60 to 80 IBUs or more.
Okay.
The New England style is shooting for more for 40 IBUs or less these days.
But they get to those IBUs a different way too.
Yeah, they throw all the hops in at the end of the boil, which gives you a much smoother bittering flavor, and it's all tropical flavors,
Yes.
So
fruity
they
flavors.
rest. So
like
basically,
tropical.
exactly right. You would
And
with your
citrusy.
taco cat
Citrusy
with your
too.
taco cat, citrus and floral.
Yeah.
Yeah, and tropical.
And tropical,
Yeah.
so stone fruits.
Okay.
Something like if you ever see something, if it ever calls out like an El Dorado,
Yeah.
especially as a dry edition.
Galaxy.
I find this
Galaxy is
very
big
illuminating.
too. Dude, you are gonna love this. Okay, so when you see it, it's gonna come to you. It's gonna be completely opaque. It's gonna look like something you would get from Jamba Juice.
Yeah.
Functionally speaking, right? You're gonna
Like an
tip.
unfiltered.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
You're gonna tip this back, and it's gonna have the punch. Like, and this is gonna be expensive on the production side.
Right.
These are gonna be expensive to make, but no matter where the IBUs are at, they are adding them at the very end. So they're not resting in a boiling kettle for an hour,
Okay.
right? Even though they're using the right volume, like a big volume of hops, they're at the end, and then they get
Turned it
pulled-
off.
But then they're at the end, and they get pulled out, right?
Right.
You got the touch.
Sorry, that was my ringtone.
Is your ringtone? You've got the touch
Yes.
from the Transformers.
It is. Look, pop culture beers.
No, man, brother, I support you 100%. But what I'm saying is that it's going to come across like a juice. Like you remember, Fruit Stripes gum,
Yes.
like high tang, but like tropical type tastes.
Yeah.
This is the type of shit you get out of this. And then for some reason, you also sometimes get floral ones that taste like flowers, but like in a good way. And there's almost no way to explain it unless you've had it.
Okay.
So next time we're out, like for Boston, or if you pop by for Unplugged,
Yeah.
they're all over out there. And so they started to materialize over here.
They're
as
starting
well.
to finally get
Yeah.
distributors.
And you
So,
know,
hazy.
I found two different styles of the hazy. You know,
Yeah.
there's the one that's definitely more citrusy. It's gonna taste more like orange juice, grapefruit
Yes.
juice, and then the other style is more apricot, stone fruit.
Okay.
You know, kind of this other softer side of the hazy.
But the body's rich and juicy. Here,
Exactly.
so while we still have you, Jeff,
All right. Yeah, I want to try the other one, and
let's
then
try the,
I'll let you guys get to recipe and.
okay, now that
Is it going to be super coffee? So that's my other big bugaboo, right? Is a lot of porters are super coffee.
they are.
I
this
don't
is,
like coffee.
Well, here, so this is going to clock in at 7.3. So it's a substantial, but I would say visually that's relatively on. That's almost like on the red ale
That's on a lighter side, yeah.
of a porter, which
Oh,
is
totally.
I am surprised by that.
And Jeff, so locally, Silver City Brewing does
yeah.
Tropic
They
Haze.
focus Tropic
so
Haze.
Is an
nice
amazing,
day.
is amazing.
Okay,
beer.
I'll remember that. I love
all
Silver
over now.
City's
Yeah.
Scotch Ale.
Oh, that's such a good one.
That is one of my
Yeah.
favorites. That is if I see that on the beer list, that is my go-to.
All right, so just so that you know, so a lot of times we play around with styles here on the show. So just so you're aware, this is not. I would say that this is a little bit outside the color range of what I would consider a porter. And I would say that it has more of a red note. So like I said, I expected them to do a blood
that
ale,
does look
which
like a
is to
red.
say like a red
Yeah.
ale. So this actually looks like a dark red ale, even though they're
does.
calling it a porter. So let's see what we got.
Oh, it's got a porter smell
the
to it
smells-
though.
Oh, it does indeed. Why are these good? This this should be terrible. That is really, really like that
Oh, yeah.
actually sits. it rests in a really nice place between the porter flavor profile is there, but it's really, really drinkable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going Klingon on this.
Yeah, you
Apparently,
out of
apparently
these
I am
two,
against the Federation. Well, if we're talking, I know they're part
if you
of the
have to
Federation later.
choose,
Early original.
yeah, TOS.
That's right. But it makes sense. Callus, Kalis. Like, it's right there. Of course I'd be aligned with the Klingons.
It's in your face.
It's right there.
Oh my god!
No, it's really good.
Right
It's
at
got
the
that
end,
sweetness.
Then right at the end, there's some coffee.
Just
But it's
a
not.
little
But
bit.
it's not there the whole time.
Yeah, it's not.
It's just
It's
right
not
in the back.
overpowering.
You know, porters are generally typically pretty easy drinking, and people always say they're boring. This, I wouldn't say, is a boring porter. Porters, if you can add some of that depth from the caramel and the dark fruit and plum flavors with the coffee notes on the back end.
Well, no, and the coffee situation on the back is just sort of like it comes. It's like. All right, is everybody enjoying their beer experience? Absolutely. Thank you so much. I'll be back later just to see how you're doing. And they leave, and then it opens the door. But by the way, just a little bit of coffee at the end.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not in your face about it, right?
There's so many porters that it's just like all I can taste. It's one of those things where sometimes an ingredient just overpowers everything else. And so many porters I've seen have that coffee overpower. And that's why I stay away from like the chocolate stouts and stuff a lot of time, because it's rare to find the one where it's just it complements instead of overpowers.
And the problem with a lot of the dark beers, especially on the market, so in homebrewing, we can add the dark grains, the roasted barley, chocolate malts at the very end of your mash. So if you leave those malts in too long in that hot water, you can strip some of the tannins out, and you get this kind of astringent, bitey note.
That's what you don't like. You don't want like the old diner coffee.
Right.
You want good coffee.
So if you add it in at the end,
just like the hops, right?
Yeah, you avoid getting those, and you get the dark color with some of that nice roasty flavor that's kind of peters off.
This should have been...
It should have been a disaster, which is part of the reason I brought him in. I'm like, this could go one of two ways.
I thought this was going to be a hilarious deconstruction of these consumer products, but they're actually kind of good.
They are, yeah.
Like, they had some more Klingons left, but that was the last of the Symbiosis at the Cost Plus in Redmond. Yeah. I'm sure other Cost Plus have. So before I leave, I have one more, because I don't mean to get too technical.
No, you fire away, and then I got a couple questions for you from here.
Oh, for me?
Yeah.
Oh, bizarre. So I tend, when I see they've got beers on Nitro,
Oh, yeah.
I tend to gravitate towards them because I find it adds a sweetness. Maybe it's wrong. Maybe I'm interpreting things. But I'm curious from your point of view as someone who makes this, aside from just putting nitrogen and making it creamier,
Yes.
what is it doing to the flavor? If anything, or is it all perceived?
It's all perceived. So when you're carbonating with
interesting.
CO2, so nitrogen isn't water soluble, so it's not putting nitrogen into the beer. You're still carbonating it with CO2. Generally, it's going to be a stout, which is lower carbonated, so there's not that carbonic acid in there that's giving you that kind of bitey note. The nitrogen is giving you that cool cascading head, and that really creamy mouthfeel, and that can come across as...
I love all these phrases.
No, it has to do with perception.
It is.
So they have a double dry hopped. You're familiar with Maritime, of course. When you go to the Jolly Roger, which is their tap house over Ballard Bay,
very familiar,
right?
Yeah.
I love that place. And then, but if you get their Nitro, like they always serve like double dry hopped IPAs on Nitro, which I would say, I know, right? Which I would say that's not appropriate. Like, and I'm going to shame myself very briefly on the stream. I have literally like talked to the server and said, is there any way that we can get like the right kind of beer on this thing? Like, it's with somebody that I know. It isn't like a stranger. It's like, hey,
you're serving your beer wrong.
Come this way, garçon. No, it isn't like that. But it's just like, you should consider putting that dark ale on here with the coffee notes. Like, that might be kind of a neat... They have a dark ale with cold brew coffee in it. I'm like, that might be really neat. And then just, these are definitely like traditional styles out of this place, right?
Yeah.
And perceptually, what's coming out is nutty stuff, like vanilla. And like, I completely get why they do it this way. But basically what it does is, because it changes the mouthfeel so much, you simply assess it a different way. Like it enables you to find, It's like a tool, really.
Yeah. Interesting. There's a hop house down in Redmond. I can't remember the brewery. I wish I could.
Yeah.
They had a peanut butter stout on Nitro.
I love these.
That was amazing. And it was one of these, it's just a hint. Just enough to give it some just nuance.
Yeah.
Without all I taste.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's so hard for it seems like.
Oh yeah,
brewers to get it right.
No, man, it's like when fucking October rolls around and these motherfuckers think, oh, you know what we need?
Pumpkin spice and
more
everything.
nutmeg.
Right.
And it's like, and they make, there's like 10 places make 10 beers that taste like poison. The answer is no.
You had my French toast stout beer.
No. That was very
I think
good.
it was the belching.
I would say that's a great peanut butter stout.
I think it was.
Well,
Look,
no,
I like pumpkin
Amy the
spice.
Falcon,
Come on,
listen,
Amy.
I'm not talking about pumpkin spice.
It's the
PSL
pumpkin.
PSL for life. What I'm saying is that what happens with them when they go in there and do this is that they're not assessing it correctly. It has to do with the duration, I think.
Yeah, and where they put it too. Yeah.
Pumpkin spice Baileys. That's the shit.
Now,
Okay.
here, so
You do your question. I'll let you get back to really doing your
Taurus
thing.
B. Singer says, Jeff, how about them Mariners?
They're going through some rough parts, but I'm
Are there any
hopeful.
good beers served at the Mariners Park?
Yeah, actually, the Mariners,
if you watch
all
the
the
Hawks,
local sports places have a ton of the local microbrews.
Because I had the pleasure of attending a Hawks game, and it was gruesome for the opponent.
No,
it was
you were
me, Lydia, and Jeff, and the taps they had on back.
They do really good. It
was quite a selection.
There's a lot of them. The local, so I know they've kind of become mainstream and they do a lot of bottling, but I'm a big fan of a lot of the Kona brews. I mean, I didn't even mean to rep them, but I'm repping them today.
I think the Kona's solid, and I actually have a soft spot for Maui Brewing as well.
Oh yeah, they're blonde. I love their blonde.
Yeah.
The Maui blonde is really good.
Longboard lager.
Yeah, well, it's so for me, that is my Budweiser, right?
Yeah.
That is my
me too.
easy
Exactly.
drinking
It's up
American
here.
lager
It's an upmarket.
anytime.
Yeah.
But it's better for me. So I'll hit the Kona brews. A lot of them have even like beer gardens and wine things. They're definitely catering to the industry that's out here in the local sports.
And at
arenas.
Safeco, I know there's a couple of different locations. They have a whole cask served location at the park.
What the fuck are you? Where's that?
They have an imperial stout
didn't
and
see
sour
that.
beer cart as well. So they've got a couple of if you want really craft beers,
That's
they got
kind
some.
of a deep cut.
Oh yeah, but that's just how it is up here in the Seattle culture now. There's so many people, including myself, who avoid the big name bought out brands.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that are out there. The local companies who are owned now by the man.
Oh no! Yeah. I was gonna say. So we're getting into it now.
Yeah. So
I'm the home brewer. We're getting some shit.
So it's like that's how I see it.
See, someone already mentioned Alicia.
Yeah, I didn't want to say names, but breweries like that, if I'm out at a bar or a restaurant and they have it and that's the only good beer they have or better beer, you can't avoid it, but it's like I try and avoid it as much as I can.
I like the red, the men's room red.
Yeah.
Even in the transition, it's been okay.
But there has definitely been, like, if you've been around it for a while, there's definitely been some alterations in flavor. I'm not even making a value judgment,
Right.
but Space Dust has changed
They changed the hops 100%.
all the time.
Yeah, they changed it from the original recipe. They called it Space Dust because the hops were all space named: Apollo, Galaxy, all these, and now it's Centennial, Cascade.
No, I was hooked.
Columbus,
I was
Chinook.
hooked on it.
It sounds like hop varietal are very similar to the
Grape.
the marijuana varietals of all the crazy names and
it's only getting
alterations.
crazier. It's actually only getting crazier.
Yeah.
Precious channel, if you would, please be so kind as to put your hands together
Well, you don't have to.
for Jeff Kales.
Look, I guess Jerry wants me off the stream, is what that means.
Here, so
back to work.
No, exactly. So go into that. The craft aspect of that for me. So it's not a Jeff, I kicked you out. That doesn't sound to me like 100% a joke. Like, I suspect that this is something where there is actually a deep-seated thing down here, and that because we live in a society where other people exist, we have to perform this other part of it and make it funny. But it sounds to me like there's actually you have an aesthetic, like an authentic aesthetic
Yes.
concern. But what is it that generates that? And can you give me an example of a brewery that has managed to survive a transition like that?
Yeah. So one that has managed to survive, in my opinion, Lagunitas. They're owned 100% by Heineken now.
So Lagunitas has.
I think it's Heineken. Don't quote me on that.
but Lagunitas has a pretty interesting. You ever get out over sort of Fremont Ballard Way?
Yeah, sometimes.
So they have a new spot out there.
Yeah.
And I've had Lagunitas stuff that's on tap in different places. The stuff that they have at that at their sort of tap house there is legitimately weird.
Yeah, and there are companies, or a company that is kind of not letting the brewery do their own thing anymore.
Yeah.
That's Anheuser-Busch. They're kind of taking their hold of things. And there's other companies like Heineken that are kind of letting them still do their thing, but getting the extra money. Not that, in my opinion, Lagunitas needed it because they were already huge.
They were already killing it.
Yeah.
They were the kings of indie brewing.
Right. And, but they're still letting them do it. They're not changing it. They're still the same to me. And New Belgium says Goose Island. That's another good one that's still doing the same thing with their Bourbon County beers and their yearly releases.
Honestly, like it's basically the right to be weird, which is sort of the indie aesthetic in general.
Right.
Like I had a beer at Lagunitas that was sort of like a CDA in some ways, but it had like Crazy Pants hops.
Yeah.
It was disgusting.
Yeah.
It was an authentically bad beer. And I'm not mad at it, but I choked it down because I wouldn't be defeated by it.
Right.
I was going to win.
Yeah.
But honestly, like to me, that was actually a comfort in a weird way.
Right.
The fact that they were allowed to make something disgusting,
Yeah.
for me, is an index that it's possible to figure out where these lines are.
Yeah.
And tiptoe up to them if possible.
And I had a beer from Lagunitas. It was I can't remember the name, but they brewed it with sake yeast and a bunch of rice. And it was found it at
rice base? No, they
I
have
found
that
it
on
at
tap there.
Costco.
No, they actually have that on
Is
tap
it
there.
Sakacito or something like that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They had that on their new
Yeah.
list.
Yeah, it was a really Sakatuma.
How was it?
It was good. It's really crisp and clean, like
would be.
many of the Japanese beers are. That are made with almost 100% or with a lot of rice
Right.
and that really clean, crisp, super dry yeast.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Have you stumbled across any of these brute IPAs that are popping up these days?
Yeah, so I went down to HomebrewCon a month and a half ago, down in Portland, and they had a few on tap there. Or they had a few that they were showcasing at HomebrewCon, and they're interesting. They're really dry, generally 4 or 5%.
Yeah, it's in that sort of sessionable range.
But they're throwing all the hops in at the end again, or dry hops. So you
Same.
get all that wonderful aroma with the really kind of carbonic bite from the
experience.
from the CO2, just
Yeah.
like a champagne would be. But then all that wonderful tropical kind of aftertaste and aroma.
Dude, so let's imagine a universe where I was to attend a homebrew con. Like, what would I see there? I mean, I haven't seen that. Is it vendor wise? Like, is it people with kits?
So vendor wise, you'll see
like yeast manufacturers.
Yeah, you'll see all the big yeast manufacturers there. Some of the grain, the malters. There was a lot of breweries there. I'm surprised New Belgium wasn't there. But breweries, they have a whole brewery section where it was in Portland, so a lot of the Portland breweries were there.
Oh sure. Local.
And then you'll find like people who sell wort chillers, some of the nicer wort chillers, or some of the nicer full brewing systems, stuff like that.
Yeah, I was going to say. So that's some of the stuff that you haven't been able to see on the show. So back when we were doing the chilling here, like once the show was over, Eric had basically put together this Rube Goldberg machine of a chiller, using a plate chiller, and essentially like that's the last stage. So you can let it cool, but it takes forever. You would be shocked to learn how long it takes 180, 215 degree wort to come down to where you can pitch yeast into it and have the yeast survive.
And it's going to depend on the groundwater, which right now is pretty hot here, or pretty warm. You can only get it down to about 75 to 78 degrees right now, no matter how long. I have a small little immersion chiller, and it takes me with the recirculating pump to get about 20 minutes. Without my pump, 30 to 40 minutes to chill it. So it really does take a while. You can chill it with ice and different things like that.
Yeah, you should combine it.
Yeah, you can do a couple different weird things that can speed it up. And
here, I have to show you. So when we were coming out of the Pico for our new batches, we can bring the stuff down from boil to pitch in 6 minutes. I'm just you have to see this fucking monster that he has created.
Right. And that's one of the vendors there. They make this.
It takes 2 people to do it.
Oh, okay,
you have to constantly cycle cold water back into this thing, but it is 6 minutes.
And so there's this company that makes a chiller so mine's like 25 feet coiled. They make
Oh, jeez.
They make a 150-foot coil that's the same size as mine. So it's just like triple coiled inside of itself, and it just you can chill it down in about 5 minutes.
How much does that cost?
It's like, you're looking at like $150, but the one I bought was $80. So it's not a ton more for like
twice the efficiency?
More than that, yeah.
Yeah, that's dumb.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Hey, the Tracken wants to know if nitro versus CO2 changes the pH of the beer at all.
I do not know that 100%. You know, what I know, I would say yes, but I do not know.
Certainly perceptually.
Yeah.
The CO2 definitely has a tangy.
It does. If you've ever overcarbonated beer, it definitely comes across bitey, and it kind of eliminates the other flavors that are in there.
You know, and the truth is that it's entirely possible, certainly if you're buying beer from the store,
right,
they might have had a batch like that and not known that that's what explains the tang. I mean, that does happen.
Yeah.
Well, here, S.A. Wells wants us to one day stream the operation of the device. I guess we can come in, start boiling the batch, and then we can just run the back half of it, right? Crazy Forest Gnome says that CO2 adds acidity. Definitely, it would.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You
makes sense.
You can smell it and know.
Right.
But yes, we should one day do our 2-man operation of this terrifying beast.
That'd be fun to see.
Oh my gosh! Yeah. Well, it would inspire you.
Yeah.
New Belgium wants to know if you're going to GABF, but I don't know what that is.
The Great American Beer Fest. So they hold that every year in Colorado.
It's theirs?
No, it's not theirs, but it's in Colorado every year. I forget exactly where, but it's probably almost every brewery in the nation goes through it. Tons of breweries internationally come to it. It's one of the biggest festivals just to go and have beer.
That sounds incredible. Thanks, Daticus. So you have a lot of technical knowledge that we should definitely try to distribute. So what is the effect of not keeping the yeast fermenter in the correct temperature range?
So there's a lot of downsides to letting your yeast get too hot.
Well, I was just gonna say, if you're cracking open like a homebrew book, there can be, and I know that in mine, there's as many as like 15 pages.
Yeah.
Just going into very slight flavor differentials, and a lot of what they're gonna blame for a bunch of these deviations from type have to do with the fermenter. So now I'll leave you alone.
Yeah.
But also, are you interested in more of the Imperial Porter?
Sure. Oh yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, that was quite good.
In my opinion, yeast's fermentation temperature is one of the most underlooked things for beginning homebrewers, because if your yeast ferments too warm, you're going to get phenolics that you don't want, kind of bubblegummy and fruity flavors. Which,
I was just going to say.
Right, which in an IPA, you don't necessarily want, but in a Belgian beer...
you might not even notice.
You want it. So you want to ferment upwards of 70, some Belgian-style yeast, or even like the new Norwegian-style yeast, can ferment upwards of 100 degrees. Versus like a lager yeast, which needs to ferment under 50 degrees, or under 52 roughly.
Well, but lagering is like that sort of stair-step temperature process, right? And you want to control that because you're trying to get a specific result.
Right.
When it comes to the bubblegum and like the clove and banana weirdness, depending on the style, that's what you want.
Yeah, depending on the style,
Right.
And then another thing you can get if you ferment too hot is you can get what's called fusel alcohols. Fusel alcohols are if you drank anything, even hard liquor, and you get the splitting headache right here in your temple, like almost immediately. That's from a fusel alcohol.
What? It's just your body is just like, what the fuck? Get that out of here?
It's a different type of alcohol compound. I don't know the entire chemistry behind it, but it tastes like rubbing alcohol almost, and it just
like
gives
an
you
isopropanol type.
Then it gives you like you just want to stop and not do anything for the rest of the day.
So you know right away.
It's almost instant. It's bad. And but a lot of these flavors, if you are new to craft beer or new to anything, or new to the beer world in general, homebrewing, you may not notice a lot of the flavors. You can even get a plasticky flavor.
I have definitely experienced that. What's that? Is that a temperature control?
That's from getting too hot again. Yeah, and a lot of these flavors I know because I've been training for Cicerone. For do the Cicerone stuff.
You're training for it, but you're not.
Well, I've completed the first level.
Yeah.
So I'm training to be in the next.
So real quick. So if you're familiar with the term sommelier, another piece of dork alcohol knowledge to file away is the Cicerone. So why don't you dish it up for the people at home?
Yeah. So Cicerone is they basically will. They have the knowledge of how to brew the beer, how to serve it.
Well, I didn't know it covered the brew aspect.
Well, it's not necessarily the process of brewing, but they know of the ingredients.
How it works.
Yeah, so they know the ingredients. So knowing how to brew definitely helps the Cicerone in general.
I bet.
Food pairing.
You're ahead of it.
Yeah, food pairing. So there's
we did a pairing episode of the show with
saw
our friend
that one.
Tara.
Yeah.
Oh man. That was he made like these sweet potato quinoa bowls. Mm-hmm. It was a positive experience, but there's an art to that.
Oh, totally. Yeah, the food pairing for me is going to be the hardest part. Tasting all flavors in the beer, knowing if it's a good beer.
The beer side of this is you're going to murder.
Right. Yeah, knowing if it's a good beer, and then knowing how to serve it as well, and how to properly serve it. Know how if a glass is clean or not, beer clean we call it, and then there's so many different avenues for it. It's, like you said, it's like being a sommelier for wine.
How long does it take to earn this type of certification?
So the first one's not too difficult if you're a beer nerd and if you have brewed at all. The second one, they recommend once you get the first certification, at least a year of full studying.
Jesus Christ!
Along with so there's the BJCP, which is the beer judge certification program that is used to judge beers in competitions. They recommend becoming certified in that
before you even come back for level 2.
Yeah, because that will give you knowledge, a lot of knowledge to get you to the beer knowledge part of the sort of Cicerone certification.
So is there a level 3? Is it like a Scientology thing?
There's 4. There's 4 full levels. So there's a lot of level 1s.
Thanks, Majesty.
Yeah, there's a lot of level 1s. Level 2 is narrowed significantly. Once you get to level 3, you're looking at under 100 people in the world with the level 3 certification. And then the Master Cicerone is under 20 probably, if not less. It's very, very small.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, that seems like a very exclusive club.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jelly Chef.
Yeah, there's 8 level 4s. If you go on their website, you could find my name under the level 1s. If you searched it, if you go on there, you'll find 8 of them.
Do they live like in monasteries, like on mountaintops, like?
No, a lot of them will work. Actually, I was curious. So I looked. They show their jobs too and where they work.
Oh.
So a lot of them work for the big companies, Anheuser-Busch, Heineken,
right?
doing quality control stuff.
Oh, at the head end, basically,
right.
They can say these are the problems with this. Right. So they function almost as like itinerant monks or something. Like they're like quality control, consultancy type.
Yeah. They're it's really interesting. Yeah.
Man, okay, so I am overjoyed. So now that they know that they can get answers to real shit, I have twice as many questions now as I did before. So you're fucked. Now, Crazy Forest Gnome, who always comes in and drops some real science. What dark grains would you recommend for an American dark lager?
American dark lager. So that would be one of the ones I would put the dark grains in late.
Just come in.
Yeah,
late in the process.
Get most of the color and you'll get some flavor. Maybe put it in with 20 minutes left in the mash. I would do some Crystal 80, Crystal 120, somewhere in that range. Crystal caramel.
But don't start them at the boil.
I wouldn't put them in for the whole entire mash process. And then I would maybe some roasted barley. a little bit of roasted barley. Not much though, only a couple ounces.
No, I'm on a kick though. Like that taste between barley and oats, like it's a constant battle right now. They're novel, and you don't actually need much to get some really cool results.
It's a strong malt.
Let's see. Sagorn wants to know what's the weirdest thing you've ever brewed, because you brought some really special stuff for us last time here.
Yeah.
Tell us about an experiment.
An experiment that went not necessarily the way I wanted it to was I did a brown ale and put Cinnamon Toast Crunch in it. I dumped the cereal in the mash.
The actual cereal?
Yeah, I put the cereal in the mash.
And you boiled it?
No, in the mash.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's where basically the all grain version of steeping the grains.
Yeah.
You're putting it and letting it sit at a specific temperature for about an hour. It didn't work right. If I was to do it again, I would try and replicate the flavor of Cinnamon Toast Crunch with ingredients. Cinnamon sticks and brown sugar and stuff like that. But probably the weirdest beer I do is my French toast stout.
Well, which we had.
Yeah.
And it's quite good. So was the French toast stout like you're basically like your 2.0, like your second attempt to get at some of those flavors?
Well, no, that was actually what got me into brewing my own beer. Really? That beer.
Well, that's old school?
Yeah, that's a recipe I've been doing for years. It's one that I do at least once a year, and I've been working a lot on it.
What is your setup at home like when you're going to make a batch for you or for the store? Yeah. Like what do you like what does your traditional kit look like? Right. Like my only home kit that I've ever had, I used to go up to Gallagher's up north in Edmonds. Yeah. And so they get the massive kettles and stuff like that. Yeah. You can do 6 to 8 cases at once in one batch. Like it's pretty cool way to get shit done. Yeah. The first kit I ever owned at home was Pico. So how do you build that kind of stuff at home?
So when I brew at home, I've got a propane burner, a pretty nice one.
Tank.
Yeah. And then like just a gas like turkey fryer style burner. Yeah. And then I have a 10-gallon kettle. I also have a 10-gallon mash tun, a stainless mash tun.
So let them know what the mash tun is.
So mash tun, like I said, mashing is where you're steeping the grains at a very specific temperature for anywhere from 45 minutes to a couple hours.
To extract
the sugars out of the grains, correct. And then I also have a smaller 7-gallon kettle for heating sparge water, which to rinse the grains, rinse the excess sugars off and get me up to my pre-boil volume. So that's kind of my setup. I don't have anything. I have one pump that I use to help recirculate some liquid, so I don't have to lift everything everywhere.
Yeah, no, because that can be part of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah. So it's not super fancy. I'd like to get into some nicer setups, but
so Atria Ventrica was the one that came to the shop and you helped them out. They want to know if they can be Cicerone buddies with you. They're studying and saving for level 2 as well.
Oh, totally. Yeah, totally.
You know where to find him.
Yeah.
Let's see. Essay wants to know if a sommelier and a Cicerone can be subclasses of concierge. It's like, listen, there's a lot of... You're a very funny person, and I respect you. Let's see. What would be your suggestions, if at all possible, if you had to brew a smash American IPA? And I'm sure you know that terminology automatically, right?
So smash is a single malt, single hop beer.
Right.
So smash beers in general aren't super interesting. They're supposed to be for the brewer themselves to learn. There's lots of commercially brewed ones out there. Yeah. There's a local brewery over by my work, Karen Brewing. They brew their Hop Traverse series. It's all Maris Otter. Or actually, it might be NZ151, which is Skagit Valley malt now. Yeah. And then
we've got really great success with the Skagit Valley malts.
Yeah, and then he'll do a single hop and he'll rotate. He's done 11 or 12 now.
Yeah. I would say that smash, like, it's a beer, so I like it. Right. But I think that, I mean, for me, at least as a fan and as a brewer, the main thing that they enable is for you to sort of calibrate your taste.
And so if you're going to do a smash beer, I probably wouldn't do a full 5 gallons with specific hops. Certain hops do not work well for bittering. When you bitter with them...
Oh, yeah, because generally speaking, you're trying to choose... You're trying to orient each of these toward the specific phase of the brew.
Some hops just don't work well for bittering. They have an off bittering flavor for most people. Some people like it. but they just don't have the best flavors when you have them in the boil for a full 60 minutes.
Right.
Because there are different bittering flavors. Bitterness tastes differently.
And different alphas and...
Yeah, and but then when you add it at the end, you get all these, you get the aromatics. And
then it's interesting.
Yeah, it doesn't boil off all those interesting flavors. So in my opinion, I would bitter with something really kind of neutral and clean, where it doesn't really have a lasting flavor or a astringent flavor.
Like some in the noble.
Like Magnum.
Yeah.
Magnum is probably one of my favorite bittering hops if you're going to do a smash beer. It's not considered a smash beer at that point, but bitter with Magnum and then throw whatever hop you want to know the flavor of at the end. Because if let's say you want to do a Cascade or a Chinook beer, smash beer, those aren't they're old school hops. People have been using them for bittering for a long time.
Yeah.
But they're also not the best for bittering. Chinook can be kind of spicy. It has spicy bitterness and a long-lasting kind of back-to-the-throat bitterness. And then it's going to take away from the flavor of the Chinook, which is kind of a spicy floral flavor. So I would, if you're going to do something like one of those hops, I would use Magnum for bittering and then throw those hops in at the very end to get their flavor and aroma and really
focus.
Learn more about them.
Yeah. So Drunk Phytologist has got a bunch. I'm going to do a bunch of those at the end. Let's see. So we did the grains. We know about that. We got that. Now, do you ever get to Chicago for conventions?
I don't make it much places for conventions.
Yeah. You stay busy.
Yeah.
Trying to become a beer sorcerer.
Yeah.
Apparently, Sketchbook Brewing in Evanston is hot stuff. I rarely get out that way myself.
Yeah.
Crazy Forest Gnome also wants to know if we're excited for Red Larch or regular. So we made a Red Larch regular classic sort of red style. And we were sort of going, back in the day, we weren't thinking about it as a smash because I don't think that term was in wide circulation at that time.
Yeah.
When much earlier in the show.
Right.
But basically, there's a character in this town in our ongoing D&D game that we sort of wanted it to be the beer that she would make for her inn, and so it uses a single hop for everything that sort of rides through the whole thing.
Right. That's cool.
Yeah, I think that was Cascade. I think in that one.
Yeah. And if used in smaller amounts, like Cascade won't. Sometimes that can come across kind of a soapy flavor when it's used for bittering.
Yeah.
But not all the time. If used in the right amount.
Well, in this, and since it was a red, it wasn't going to be super hoppy anyway, so I don't think we ever hit any of those crazy thresholds. But yes, I'm super excited about it. And so this person has been taking the recipes that we make on the show and then choosing the opposite thing.
Oh, okay.
And then getting those beers out. And it's been really fascinating to watch that adventure. Let's see, Richter Sir. Will you do that? When will you do that recipe book on Kickstarter? I haven't considered how we would fund that book. I just know that we could do it and it would be really great. It would be a lot of fun, especially if, Kickstarter would allow us to, get friends like Amy, let's say, to come in and do a bunch of extra art so that we could communicate the story aspects and the of the beers and establish a sort of design language and give us a more cohesive book. Kickstarter might be a good way to do that. It just depends on how we want to, you don't want to do too many Kickstarters. We finally got these other ones out the door, but it'd be interesting to see what we could put together. Let's see. S.A. Wells, bless me, DM Daddy, for I am sinned. The party met alternate universe Evelyn and Walnut last night and found them in bed together. That I can see that happening. Anyway, what beer should they drink at Castle Frankenstein? Generally speaking, I think between Evelyn and Walnut, I think that you're looking at the Saison context. I would investigate that. So, opinion on counterfloor immersion versus plate chiller when it comes to not clearing out cold break. Plate chillers dump cold break into the fermenter, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
I don't even understand this question. This is a person who is clearly Cicerone level 1,
right. Or just a home brewer.
Yeah, working on level 2.
Yeah, so so an immersion chiller is like the one I told you. It's a coil that you stick into your kettle.
Yeah,
that's what the majority of home brewers will use kettle, especially newer brewers.
As opposed to a plate.
A plate chiller, yeah, which like you said, the Eric has, which is a big brick.
It's like a brick of copper mazes inside it, basically, for beer.
And a counterflow it's where the beer, it's another kind of coil. It doesn't go in the beer. Beer runs one way and cold water runs the opposite way. So you're getting
so
through the there's an inner tube that
It's
the
like a
beer
circulation type thing. Okay,
There's
cool.
an inner tube that the beer runs through, and then the water goes around the outside.
Oh wow, I
Yeah,
suspect
or vice versa.
that seems quite efficient.
Right.
If you could maintain the cold part of it.
Yeah, the problem with counterflows and plate chillers is they can be very hard to keep sanitary and clean.
To clean, right?
Yeah. So I mean, I've debated going with a plate chiller to answer your question. The hard part is keeping hops out. And if you're doing a lot of plate beer or a lot of IPAs where you have a lot of hops, it can be really hard.
Even harder to keep it clean.
Right. So a kettle spider helps with that, which is basically it sits over the top of the kettle and you can drop a bag into it and just throw your hops in the bag.
Oh. Like other types of brew-in bag type things, where basically keeps it all out of the wort.
Yeah, but this is specifically for hops. It keeps it out of the plate chiller. So you can pull the bag out after the boil. And the hops are all in the bag. They're not in your kettle.
You got all the compounds.
Correct.
But now they're gone.
Yeah, and then there's some stainless steel mesh baskets that kind of hang on the side of your kettle, and you can throw the hops in there. I find the immersion chillers work great. I don't have any issues with them. You throw it in at the last 5 minutes of your boil to sanitize it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems fine.
Yeah.
Let's see. So Drunk Phytologist, this is they've provided us with a kind of trilogy of sophisticated questions, and I hope that you're ready.
I'll try.
Yeah. So have either of you looked into the biology behind what happens to overheated yeasts and strains, which are more tolerant to heat?
I haven't.
I have not.
That'd be pretty interesting to know, though.
I suspect it would be fascinating, yeah. I know that yeasts can go into shock like any other microbe, but do you know if certain temperatures shift the yeast from a primary fermenter, ethanol only, to a mixed acid fermenter, ethanol plus lactic acid plus other stuff?
So most yeast that produce lactic acid is going to be wild yeast or like bacteria. So that's how you get sour beers.
Stuff you don't want necessarily.
Right. And as far as, so he's asking about temperature.
Yeah.
Not sure what temperature, if you're going to do a kettle sour, which is where you're putting bacteria into your kettle post-mash, pre-boil.
Yeah.
So that you can boil the bacteria off. I know they really like it warm, 90 to 100 degrees, 100 over 100 degrees. You keep it there for a few days and they rapidly produce lactic acid.
Oh, and give you that customary flavor.
Correct, yeah. And then you boil it and kill them all off. And then so you have a clean beer going into fermenter and you don't have to worry about infecting all your equipment.
Right. The spider webs.
Right, yeah. That's called pellicle. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks real weird.
Oh, yeah. But as far as, regular yeast, I'm not sure. You wouldn't get much lactic acid from the standard yeast, but
yeah.
But yeah.
So I was talking to Eric before he left for Gen Con, and he told me, Anthony, that he is running a Dungeons and Dragons game for the people at Micro Homebrew.
Yeah. Me and one of my coworkers and some of his roommates, yeah.
Yeah. Is it like in the Homebrew shop?
No. We have it at my coworker's house. There's 5 of us plus Eric.
And you guys are all pretty new at the game.
Oh, super. Yeah, it's our first campaign.
Yeah, so this is an opportunity that very few people will ever give you. So I want you to appreciate the gravity of it. You may now speak about your character.
My character. So I'm a forest gnome, 75-year-old forest gnome.
Hey, that's a great age.
Ranger.
Ooh, a gnome ranger?
Yeah.
Okay, that's novel.
I picked up a couple of pet rats on my journey, and
as one does.
Yeah, and they're my pets.
They're people.
My people. I did have a pseudo dragon pet on the side who I terribly sent into a cave, and our DM was not friendly to it.
Oh no, it's classic. What I was gonna say, that sounds. Eric likes to punish. Eric likes to punish players, especially when he determines that they have behaved in an immoral way.
Yeah, he's very...
A lot of lessons from this guy.
My gnome is very calculated. He likes to... And he's also kind of stubborn at the same time. He knows he likes to look for the right way, calculate the right way to go. And
Yeah. So when I was talking to Eric, because he was talking to me when he had established that campaign, it seemed to me that a really, really, really great hook... I lost chat. Josh, I'm just letting you know. A really great hook for that campaign would be to have the party be brewers.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if my incredible idea made it into the campaign. Did that happen?
Not yet. No. We've met several drunk people, but in barrels and
we've met people who drink a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, here. So Staghorn. See, Staghorn is going to back your play here. What is the gnome's name?
Ron and Thurleaf.
This is quite good. This is quite good.
Yep.
See, this is the funny thing, right? It's like a Ronin, right?
Yeah.
See, so you're.
Right.
This is the thing, man. It's
Right.
like, you would have made this character in junior high.
Right.
But you made this character as a grown-ass man.
Yep.
But you still named him like a junior high person would have.
Right.
And I'm not, there's no shame here.
Right.
I think that that's marvelous.
Yeah.
And I want to support you in it.
Yeah.
What we should do is we should investigate two things. One, we should investigate having you come back on the show
Yeah.
where we can come at your character from a brew perspective, which is more or less what we do the rest of the time here on the show.
Yeah.
Either character concepts, or just artifacts of the game world.
Yeah.
Any of those, it would be a treat to wring out your expertise on that.
Totally.
But on the backside, like the campaign where all of the characters are brewers and they need to secure. There's a game called like Battle Chef. Mm-hmm. Like if the whole game is about you trying to get these like carnivorous grains and other strange like alchemical components for these beers, obviously this would culminate in a competition.
Right.
Every season. To me, that seems like the ultimate campaign.
That'd be super cool, yeah.
I might just have to put that in my own campaign.
Yeah,
now.
that'd be really fun.
No, I'm ready. Drunk Phytologist is back with... oh, no. I got rid of that one. Devindra wants to know what the rats are named.
I didn't name my rats. I didn't name them because everyone else at the table hates them. I kind of offer them to the people we meet in the world as like a friendly offering, try and get them. They just get grossed out.
But
Ronan offers them.
No one is down with these rats?
No one's down with the rats.
They're vermin?
They try and kill them.
It's true. Hey, no, so you actually have HDMI plugged into this laptop.
Correct.
So you can show us, so generally speaking on the show, we use BeerSmith 2. Mm-hmm. Jorsh and Ghostly, would it be possible to get the HDMI? Right. So in your experience, so my suspicion is that you spent quite a lot of time with 2.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
So this is the first time I've even seen BeerSmith 3. Mm-hmm. What mystical skills does it offer?
So one of the main things that it offers, one of the biggest changes is they updated the Whirlpool hop additions in BeerSmith 3.
Oh, okay. So that it's more like basically it's incorporating the way people would actually.
Right. It was in there before, so that you could set hops as Whirlpool additions, but it didn't give you the correct IBUs.
It didn't calculate it right.
It didn't calculate it correctly. So he worked on the formula, and it actually comes out. I was calculating them by hand before, and now it's coming out
solid,
a lot closer than they were.
So tell the gathered throng at home and also me what a Whirlpool hop is.
So Whirlpool, like when Jeff was here, talking about adding the hops at the very end.
Oh, is it like flame out?
So it's after flame out. So you flame out.
Okay, so I'm learning something now. So there is a realm of hopping.
Yes.
That exists even after flame out.
A large realm.
Oh, Whirlpool, because now we're draining it out of the kettle.
Yes, in a commercial sense you are, yes. In a homebrew sense, you set up a pump and it creates a whirlpool. It creates a cone of hops in the middle, and then you can add hops then as the temperature is dropping.
Oh, wow, it's being mixed.
Yeah, and you're getting different compounds as the temperature is dropping.
Totally.
Yeah. Yep. But so that's whirlpool hopping, and different temperature ranges gives you different compounds. That's how the New England IPAs are doing it. So between 100.
Oh, okay. Because I was actually curious about that because, I mean, it can't just be a function of it not being filtered. Like that's not going to be enough to give those beers that look.
No, honestly when it comes out of the kettle, it's pretty clear. But then you dry hop with 3/4 of a pound of hops, and you're getting tons of hop oils and all that. So
exactly. So what else has it got?
So they updated the water chemistry in here. You know, honestly, I haven't done this a ton. I haven't played with 3 a ton because it's still so new. But yeah, there's a lot of new water profiles, water profile additions. You can match target profiles in here.
So it'll do some calculation for you.
Correct. Yeah, and then they have the cloud storage which they updated.
Okay. So no matter what machine you have it on, or if you're using the app or something like that, you can keep a single store of your recipes.
Yeah, or between my 2 computers, I can keep a single store. Again, that's about all I know of. I haven't looked into a ton of else on BeerSmith 3. The whirlpool hopping for me was the biggest thing.
Yeah,
that I
biggest
used
time
the most.
saver.
Yeah.
So Devindra just wants to make sure that you understand that you should forget everyone else in the campaign and definitely focus 100% on the rats.
Okay. I can do that.
I mean, obviously, as longtime role players, this is information that we know.
Yeah.
And you can apply it to your own life.
Yeah.
You can be nourished by it.
Yeah, I love my rats. No one else does. I will do that for you, Devindra.
It's awesome. Okay, cool. Well, here, let's take a look at the. Throw in any questions that you have into the chat bot, or I can look at this text over here.
I don't think BeerSmith 3 is out for mobile yet. I think you're correct, Purple Monkey.
Oh, see, this is great. So Chainsaw Gothic is saying there has to be a D&D session just for the rats. Look, I would run that. So Drunk Phytologist, they like to drink and grow plants for brewing, but so they're offering us a bunch of chocolate mint.
Ooh.
So our fantasy, we made a big part of the stream is sort of making beers associated with Acquisitions Incorporated, which is like it's like a multi-level management scheme, but like for D&D adventurers.
Yeah.
So the beer that we made for them is really like a super light Budweiserian lager that's very gentle. But the idea is that they just add whatever the local herb and plant is, so that it seems like they get the local population.
Right. Yeah. Interesting.
But really, it's just an excuse for us to try using herbs.
Yeah, that's using herbs is awesome.
So what success have you had with herbs in brewing? Because we've often had fantasies, but a lot of those haven't been able to come all the way through.
Lemongrass.
Oh, God, that seems like a really easy one.
Oh, that's a super awesome one.
What do you throw it in?
A blonde ale, stuff like that. IPA.
Oh, really? Even an IPA?
Yeah, just IPL too, which is India Pale Lager.
Yeah.
It was a great one. You can add it to just about anything. You can add mint to a stout. Chocolate mint stout.
Oh, see, that would be perfect.
Yeah.
No, the mint back on a stout would actually work.
Right. Yeah. There's some cool ones that you can do.
Oh man, that's boast. Here, Drunk Phytologist, you did receive scent mint, absolutely. Hey, so Nienna, so the main thing you have to know about the channel is that they've got great suggestions 24/7. It's basically their purpose. Hop and Grain might be good names for the rats, but they're just throwing it out there. Hop is definitely a kick-ass name for definitely a kick-ass name, or it could be like 2 different hops. Vaporlock wants to know if the rat episode could include Onyx and the Nut Syndicate. Okay, also Sweet Beezy and Ligotti. So what you should know is that among other strange things, the cause you said you're a little bit behind on the C team. So there is a kind of mafia that exists in this town, but this mafia is entirely squirrels. And they have a very complicated arrangement, like a value system for nuts.
Yeah.
So different nuts, they have an entirely nut-based economy.
Yeah.
So they're trying to work this in here. I'm just telling you, like, your rats have a place in the campaign, if that's what you're looking for.
I will be right back, though. I gotta use the restroom.
You should put it to work. But I have made excellent use of the New Belgium bottle opener, which I guess is also a bike tool of some kind, or maybe this is just another way to open a different product. Oh, see, so the Drunk Phytologist is coming in there. So, Drunk Phytologist, tell me more about this PhD situation. How did you end up? How did you end up in the Acquisitions Intoxicated channel of all places? It seems like a strange place for you to arrive. I could be wrong, I guess. Well, Empty Heads, I think that this might actually be that 20-inch, something along the lines of that 20-inch top that you might be able to get a keg post out of. I mean, I have a couple of these at home. I suspect that that's damn near. Bottle opener, screwdriver. They're murdering it. Oh, I see. Well, Drunk Phytologist, if you are ever in town or if you ever need a break from becoming a doctor and you're in town, feel free to pop in. And we can definitely provide you with a pleasing Tuesday afternoon. Oh, and Johanna Porter stumbled into it when procrastinating. Yeah, I mean, you never know how people are going to fall into this. The internet is vast. Baron Timber suggesting that being drunk and being in academia are synonyms to a certain extent. Yeah, Dr. Hutch, what's weird about a PhD being in chat? Well, listen, I think of myself as providing entertainment for the commoner. I didn't know I was attracting the upper echelon of society. Well, yeah, Phytologist, like I say, absolutely roll in. We'd love to tap something cool for you while you're here. The optimal scenario, of course, would be to have you bring in your stuff, and we could actually experiment with some of the herbs that you have. Oh, I see. I worked it. I got the sub out of this shit.
You got it.
This is marvelous. Hey, the Phytologist is saying, hey, you read my mind about the chocolate mint stout. Have you ever used lemon balm? And do you think it would work similarly to lemongrass?
I haven't used lemon balm. So I will say I may have had a beer with it. Several years ago, I visited Ballast Point in San Diego.
Oh yeah, Ballast Point's got some great stuff. They do the grapefruit sculpin, right?
Correct. Yeah. And I had their IPL. I don't know why I'm blanking on the name, but they did a one-off version, just a couple of kegs with lemongrass, lemon verbena, rosemary, and I think it was lemon balm, and it was phenomenal.
I mean, because that's wild. Like it'd be wild to have one in there.
Yeah.
I mean, every now and then you'll get something crazy like what does Black Raven do? They have like the kitty cat blues.
Yeah, the kitty cat blues with
blueberry and catnip in there. Now the very first batch of that was a little weird.
Yeah.
It was too much.
This year was good.
No, this year is quite good.
It almost tastes like a blueberry muffin.
Exactly. Yeah. They've arrived at that bready, rich, like a little bit of the mint from the catnip.
Right.
Like now they're at a good spot.
Yeah.
But when it first popped out, it was bonks.
Oh, yeah.
Baron Timber says, in your opinion, should a person who's on a private well try to make adjustments to their water to bring it to neutral, or should I just revel in the strangeness of my well?
I personally say revel in the strangeness. You know, so in Seattle,
no one else could do it, right?
Yeah, and that's the whole point. Homebrewing and even breweries create their own water profile. You know, they
have like a house water that they develop?
Sometimes, some breweries do. Some of them will, you know, if you alter your water profile a certain way, you can get certain aspects of your beer to be enhanced or detracted. You know, if you have more sulfur in your beer, sulfites, your hops are going to pop more. If you have
so depending on what you specialize in, you might have a custom thing.
Yeah, if you have more calcium, it's going to be a little bit more malty, stuff like that. So
yeah, because we had a friend who was working over at Old Stove.
Yeah,
and they were talking about how, I mean, that's like one of their secret weapons is that the dude who owns those breweries is like really, really into the mineral game, like on the back end.
Yeah, water chemistry gets really complicated.
Yeah, I mean that's so far beyond what I'm ready to.
Yeah. And here in Seattle, our water is really soft, which is great for brewing because you don't have to adjust it at all. And if you wanted to adjust it, it's basically a blank canvas. to add stuff to.
It's starting at the right place.
Yeah, it's starting at the right place, but you also don't have to do anything to it. Whereas if we had really hard water, you would need to adjust it probably down to softer water to actually get it to work for brewing.
Oh, yeah. We've been lucky. I know that when I was talking to the Pico guys, that was something that, like, while they were testing and developing that device, it was a comfort to know that it's like, at least this was dealt with.
Right.
We can make this crazy machine, but at least this part of it makes sense.
Exactly.
But no, and people were asking about my Dungeon Master screen. So I had a friend named Chris Perkins who came over and he ran some games of Dungeons and Dragons here in the studio. And we had what I thought was a real emotional connection. And then he stole my Dungeon Master screen.
Oh, no.
And then he gave it to somebody else to bring back to me. And this is another person, Kate Welch, that I thought was a friend. And what happened instead was that she did not give it to me.
Oh, no.
So
that's not good.
Well, yeah. Okay, now, Nienna Flavor, so what they're saying is that I stole rings. Okay, so I did play in their campaign, and I did steal items from their characters. But Nienna, those were not real items. They were not real items, okay? He stole a real Dungeon Master screen. Yes, exactly right.
There
True.
you go, yeah.
Exactly right. He's a villain. Real to Chris. Yeah, maybe. Well, hey, listen. We're going to sort of pause the stream here for a little bit. I'm going to get all my stuff together. I'm going to roll back over to Mr. Krahulik. We'll bump into the art stream here in about 10 minutes or so. I'm going to take full advantage of the facilities. And then when I return, prepare yourself for incredible art, storytelling, and commentary with my friend Mike Krahulik and myself. It's been our absolute pleasure to serve you. We will see you again soon.